Pro TV family. My name is Tracy Green Washington with Cothinkk. I'm here with Erin Byrd, who is Executive Director of Blueprint North Carolina. Erin is here tonight with us to talk about alliance building and collaboration in Western North Carolina. And she is one of our facilitators and trainers for the weekend for our second session for our Leadership Institute call. Just to tell you a little bit about Cothinkk, Cothinkk is a giving circle led by African American and Latinx leaders here in Asheville, Western North Carolina. And we're committed to using our time, talent, and treasure towards supporting leaders of color to address the issues that they know work in their community. We're really honored to have Erin here today and for her to share her experience of how you really drive towards systems level change and really make decisions about how you talk about both proactive strategies and reactive strategies towards addressing this really complex work. So Erin, tell us a little bit about your work and tell us a little bit about your approach and your philosophy around doing systems level work.
That was a really big question. So I'm Erin Byrd, and I'm Raleigh, North Carolina. Hey, JM Pro TV. I work for Blueprint North Carolina, and that's a collaborative of a bunch of nonprofits that are trying to make North Carolina a more equitable state. And we believe that we do that by engaging people of color and young people in the political process more fully and completely, that they have access, that they're engaged, and that they have representation that reflects their community's needs and desires. And you asked me about my approach to systems level change.
Yes. And why did you choose to work with Cothinkk?
Well, I chose to work with Cothinkk because I see the benefit and the potential of the seeds that you're planting here in this area, and because I think that that your very clear focus on building relationships among different leaders, particularly leaders of color, helping to increase their visibility in the community and help them to build the types of relationships that can be transformative so they can work more effectively to win, is a really critical and important approach to get us closer to where we need to be. And I wish that, and I'm looking forward to Cothinkk being a statewide organization and being able to participate in this work on my side of the state. I think it's very impressive.
I like that idea. One of the things you talked about tonight was this exercise about forward stance. Talk to us a little bit about how do you use forward stance in your work to build collaborations and relationships, and what are some of the takeaways that you would want the JM Pro TV family to really know about as they do their work?
So Forward Stance was created by a woman named Norma Wong, and she is out of Hawaii. She's a Buddhist monk and was a senator in Hawaii, as well as sort of the assistant to the governor there for many years. And Forward Stance is a sort of a mindfulness technology. I call it sort of physical meditation practices and principles that we use to help us think through how to work more effectively together. The principles that we talked about tonight were stance, awareness, energy, and rhythm. And the idea behind those principles, or how you, stance is how you position your work, whether you're proactive or reactive. Awareness is whether you have a narrow perception of what's going on or you have a broad and objective awareness of what's happening. Energy is really just that idea of maintaining energy that's sustainable so that folks can align and work with you and maintain that work with you. And then rhythm is sort of, what is the rhythm of your organization? How are you moving work? And it's very similar in terms of if the rhythm is too fast, people can't keep up. It looks erratic and crazy. If the rhythm is too slow, you miss opportunities. So it's about trying to find the right rhythm for everybody that you're working with. And I think that the principles are just kind of really guiding principles. It gives us a way to assess what our work is looking like in the moment and where we might need to rest, where we might need to move forward, and what shifts we want to make so that we can sort of maintain sort of a broad awareness And by that, I mean understanding not only the immediate concerns of your community, what's happening right now, but how you set a plan to build the community you want to live in the future, and not just stay in sort of the reactive fight against the very negative, very harmful things that are happening right now, which we do have to pay attention to. But if that's the only thing we're paying attention to, that will be the only thing we're paying attention to. And so the question is how we get how we build towards the world we want to live in, instead of just reacting to the world that we're existing in. And it's hard for a lot of folks right now. So we're going to have to figure out how to have a more long-term and visionary approach, and how to work together and stay together and support each other, so that if you have to react, then I have your back, and I can help you keep your eye on the long vision, and it works the same way the other way around. You can say to me, Erin, I see you only in reaction, girl. I'm gonna need you to, what about this other thing we talked about that we want to build together? How do we hold both of those things? We hold both of those things by holding each other. Yeah.
As Cothinkk thinks about its work here in the western part of the state, and as it thinks about how it can deepen its efforts across the state potentially, what kind of advice would you give us as we think about how we hold the right rhythm and balance in assessing and doing that work in the way that maintains the integrity and the magic behind Cothinkk?
A big question. I would say that the advice that I would give, the best advice I can give, is don't be an overextension. Don't try to bite off. Don't try to be everything to everybody. Try to figure out exactly what your role is and play your position, and then build relationships and alliances and collaborations with others that play the other position. Sort of like when we talk about being on a team, what is your position on the team? Stop trying to be the quarterback, and the linebacker, and the water boy, and the coach, and the people in the stands. So you try to be all of those positions, instead of just playing our position as well as we can and being in relationship with folks that are playing the other position. And a lot of times that means swallow your ego. A lot of times that means admit, I am not a good coach. I should be the water boy, and that should be okay, because everybody on the team needs water for energy, Yeah. So it's sort of things like that we should be thinking about. I try to do myself, because sometimes we get called to be everything to everybody, and if we're everything to everybody, we're about nothing to nobody, right? So that would be my advice. Find your position and play it. Yeah.
And what advice would you give? To communities in the western part of state who are getting a lot of attention, who are leaders of color, who are being called on to play different positions? What advice would you give to them about sustaining themselves and about prioritizing themselves in an organization so they keep their line of sight around why they do this work?
Yeah, I think that leaders, as a Black woman, I get called to do all kinds of things. Many of them aren't my role or job, and I'm not good at it, or may not be good at it. So one of the things I try to do is really, because there's so many of us in leadership that are invisible, as Cothinkk is trying to address. So why do I have to be in the front of everything? So I think one of them is calling out and making sure I'm bringing forward other folks that can do the work that I'm being asked to do, because somebody else is better positioned. So sort of shared responsibility, sharing resources, sharing strategy, and not trying to take it all on myself. And that also has to do with our ego, right? And then I would say that we have to do deep reflection on what it is, what our important commitment, our responsibility, so that everybody has and is brought here with a sacred responsibility. What is that for you? What is your purpose? And figure that out in your role and what you're good at, and then move that agenda and not get distracted by things that other people are calling on you to do because it benefits them for you to do them. I think we have to assess, is this beneficial to my community, or is this beneficial to blah, blah, blah. And a lot of times they're asking you to do it because it's going to help them, which might be fine if you have the energy for that. So I think it's about really being clear about what is the return on the investment of your time.
Yes.
That's a really good question. to answer before you agree and take on leadership or commitment roles that other people are asking you to do if they're not aligned with your purpose.
I think that you're asking the right questions. That was one of the reasons why we developed the Cothinkk Blueprint Leadership Program. Program is for folks to grapple with those questions and to go deeper and to make those really hard decisions so they could be effective, and also how they could pool their collective efforts in a way that they could be impactful together. So thank you.
Multiplier effect.
Yes.
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 Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right.